Welcome back to the National Pastime. I'm Nash.
I'm Aaron.
And this is the same day that we recorded the previous episode. Just trying to bang them all out before I head out to, just out and about. Just running some errands in Arabia and India and Nepal. And then I'll be back for a gear change.
Doing your work for Hobby Lobby.
That's right. Doing my under-the-table Hobby Lobby work. I'm just going on a Hobby Lobby run. Just be right back for my craft supplies in India.
Wink.
Yeah, you get it. I got a lot of cool decorations at my place. That's actually not a joke. I have a 1,300-year-old pottery shard that was smuggled out of an archaeological dig that I've got, and just cool. I got cool stuff around. The joke is that I live in a cross between an Indiana Jones sort of house and Doctor Strange's Sanctum Sanctorum. Just cases of shit everywhere, just old nonsense. It's good times. It's good times. That's why it's good to have a place to store all my goodies now, because I didn't used to have any goodies, but now that I've got a base, I can hoard all kinds of stuff. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Let's have a sponsor. How about Hesitation? This episode is.
I don't know.
How about Hesitation? If a second thought is going to slow you down or keep you from doing something, I say don't give things a second thought. If you got that nagging, naysaying voice in your mind, just ignore it. If a second thought's going to slow you down, to give it a second thought. I don't even give things a first thought. Just go. That's what I say. Just go. This episode is brought to you by Hesitation, or the lack of hesitation. Just ignore anything that would stop you from achieving your goals. What do you guys think of that?
I'm not so sure about it.
Yeah? Why don't you think about it for a while?
Now that I think twice.
Too many times.
You know what? On second
you went
thought,
too many times.
I agree.
Now I'm confused. Because it took two thoughts for you to agree with me. That's against my... I guess the ends justify the means, and the means here are agreeing with me. So I'll allow it this time. Let's see here. This'll tie right in. So we're talking about me going to India. So I recently got this plane ticket, right? I don't like to fly, but this is a time-sensitive venture because I'm actually going to India to meet a buddy of mine who's having kind of a midlife crisis breakdown thing. He needs a recharge with myself, and so it's actually his idea that we go to India. And who am I to argue? He's a guy, we graduated from the same leadership survival wilderness school, and he lives out in Arizona. He flew me out there last year. We did some treasure hunting and some. He's real good with making fire with nothing but two sticks, and I'm not as good. I need two sticks and a piece of string and a rock, and I'll be all right. But he's pretty good. But so we're going out there. But so I was like, well, I have to fly begrudgingly. So I was gonna save. Figured out I did some recon, and I could save several $100s by finagling the days and times and all that. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do it. I could have saved a few $100 more though, if I could have got all these things to line up. If I was able to hitch a ride from here to the bus station, take a bus from here to Chicago, walk 3 blocks from the bus station to the train station, take a train in Chicago to the airport, then fly to New York and switch airports, and then catch this plane, I could have saved $300, but I couldn't get everything to line up. So I was like, fine, whatever, who cares? I still saved the few $100s from my other thing. And that's how I wound up with a 19-hour layover in Abu Dhabi, which we will talk about in a little bit. But more importantly, I keep getting emails, right? And I don't have a phone or a computer, so I don't get emails very often. I only check them once a week. And these are big deal emails, because they keep sending me emails informing me that they have changed my flights. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But I bought a ticket for a time and a place. You can't just...
Sure they can.
You can't just cup and ball me around. Stop balling me so hard, airlines. I was going to have a 19-hour layover on the way there in Abu Dhabi, and a 19-hour layover on the way back as well. So I could have a couple days in Arabia. Now they've shifted it all around, and they're like, BT dubs, you're just going to jump planes real quick in Abu Dhabi on the way back. But now, you've got a 30-hour layover in New York in January. That's not where I want to be in January. Plus, I've been in New York a lot. What am I going to do for 30 hours? I have to get out of the airport, go hang out in this cold-ass city, and then come back, like, within a day. Boo! I want to be in Arabia.
You just stay in the airport.
For, like, one day. I could just stay in the airport, which I am notorious for doing. I pitched a tent in LAX. Yeah, I pitched a whole tent.
Like,
literally camped out.
I've tried sleeping in an airport, and, like, I can't do it.
I sleep equally well/poorly no matter where I am. The trick is to sleep bad no matter what, so that you're fine wherever. Like whether it's on the floor of an airport or crumpled into a chair at an airport or inside of a dumpster or behind a dumpster, I am always ready to get my 15 winks, because that's about the maximum amount of sleep I can get. But that's the trick there. But anyway, so they keep sending me emails. They're like, "Hey, we changed your flights. Just letting you know." But here's the thing, though. So this flight was gonna be like, I don't know, something like $1,300 or something. I got it down to like $800 through like finagling everything, which is more money than I wanted to spend. But once again, time sensitive stuff, so can't really be helped. It's a fine price, whatever. Round trip, cool. Plus, I'm gonna go to Arabia. Was supposed to be for a couple days, but now it's just for one day. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. But I was like, yeah, no worries. And as I'm checking out, right, I'm doing the online checkout, they're like, hey, you got like 10 different plane changes. It's an exaggeration. I have like 5 different plane changes. But they were like, why don't you pick your seats? And I was like, I don't particularly care where I sit. I mean, like, middle of the plane, slightly behind the wing is the highest survival rate in a crash. So I guess thereabouts. And they're like, oh, just pick a specific seat. And I was like, oh, okay, fine. So you give the layouts. So they're like, here's all the seats that are taken. You can't pick those. These seats are gold. If you pick those, it's extra money. Those are the premium seats. I'm like, well, I definitely don't want that. Like, oh, well, out of these open seats that are just around, I'll pick these seats. So I pick the seats, and I get to the very end of the checkout. They're like, also, BT Dubs, now that you've already checked out, it's $15 extra for the picking your seats convenience fee. But I was already at the end, and there was like, there's no going back. They got me. I was so mad. So they got me, and I was like, all right, well, never again that you got me. But I couldn't find an option. First of all, there was no warning, and I couldn't find the option to not pick my seat. And I was like, oh, you sons of bitches. But now that they've changed all my flights, I don't have set seats on these new flights. So the whole thing was moot. Yep. So they charged me $15 for essentially nothing. Very frustrating. Which brings us to our infamous segment, Airlines Are the Worst. Here's just a roundup of some...
Part 3.
Part whatever. Here's just a roundup of some things that have happened in the past couple of months since we've recorded. United Airlines apologizes after a family's dog dies in cargo hold. They were stuck on the tarmac for a couple hours, and the dog died in the cargo hold. So, they apologized, so no harm, no foul. United Airlines destroys man's $42,000 custom wheelchair. 24-year-old man with multiple sclerosis, so he needed to have a very specialized wheelchair. But they destroyed it. It's cool, though, because they apologized. They did let him borrow a wheelchair.
Oh, that was nice.
But it was just a regular-ass wheelchair that did not accommodate his very specific needs. So, good on them. United Airlines under investigation from the FAA for, quote, baby seat incident, in which a mother was forced to hold her 2-year-old child on her lap for 3 hours despite buying a ticket for the child to actually have a seat. So, the FAA is actually investigating United Airlines. Air Canada plane nearly lands on a crowded taxiway on top of other planes at San Francisco. Quote, may have triggered the greatest aviation disaster in history. There's been some pretty spectacular aviation disasters in history. The Hindenburg, the Spruce Moose, or Goose, or whatever the hell the name of that plane was, Howard Hughes' spectacular failure. The Titanic of the skies. Yeah. There's been some good ones.
Technically, it flew.
Yeah. Technically,
for
it flew.
like 45 seconds.
Yeah,
like
still,
10 feet above the water.
Still counts.
So yes, technically, it is the largest plane to have ever flown.
Yeah, still counts. Needed more rockets and helium, or hydrogen. Yeah. Let's see here. Yeah, so that almost happened. So the Air Canada flight just was like, well, we're coming in for a landing. Like, there's planes. already hear where you're trying to land.
Sorry, can't hear you.
Yeah, can't hear you, Mom. I'm gonna land on these planes. It's fine.
Well, I remember there was a documentary I watched about this. I think it was probably back in the 70s or 80s, and I can't remember where they were. There was an American
Werewolf
flight.
in London.
No. There was an American pilot, but they weren't in the U.S. I think they were in somewhere in Europe.
Okay.
And basically the whole thing was the pilot.
Were they flying on the wrong side of the road?
They were waiting to take off.
Okay.
Like waiting to taxi onto the runway and take off.
Right.
And they're waiting to get clearance to do that from the control tower.
Yeah.
There was some miscommunication between the control tower and the pilot, but that wasn't the issue. At one point, basically, the pilot heard them say he was cleared to go.
Right.
The co-pilot
Yeah.
was basically like, no, that's not what they said.
Oh.
That he said they were cleared to start taxiing but not take off.
Right.
And I guess this was at the time where basically it was very taboo for the co-pilot to question the pilot.
Right. No one questions the captain of the ship.
And this is why that's no longer the case. Because the pilot decided to go full throttle and take off and just fucking rammed into another plane.
Oh, wow.
Killing everyone on board.
Oh.
And most everyone on his plane.
That sounds like a pretty heavy historical aviation disaster.
Yeah.
Well, this Air Canada one would have been worse. Apparently. According to those.
Well, they carry a lot more people on planes now.
That's true. Yeah, they're really jam-packed in there, which they're also under investigation for jamming so many people in there because they've found out that in an emergency, people actually can't get out of the emergency exits in a sufficient time because of the way everything's situated now. So, they're not supposed to be flying around like that, but they still are. Probably going to just pay a fine, and then a bunch of people are going to die, and then they'll just pay another fine. It's fine, they'll apologize.
Yeah.
No harm, no foul. Airline, I don't know which one, apologizes for making wheelchair user climb ramp on his hands after they took his wheelchair away. So he had to climb the ramp onto the plane, just crawling onto the plane.
Are they just trying to compete with
each other to see who can be the biggest headline?
Or even you look at the most hated companies.
Yeah.
Usually
you got,
Comcast is up there.
And
EA,
Electronic Arts.
So are they just trying to you know what, we want to take the title
That's
this
right.
year.
We're gonna do it.
The aviation industry has been ignored for too long.
They just start sending people door to door to kick you in the balls. Morning, ma'am. Have you considered flying recently? We're taking your dog, also. How many children do you have? Not anymore. See you in the... What is that? The standby line. I'll see you in the standby line. You'll be flying standby. Straight to hell. So that just made me think of that, because I was just like, man, airlines are the worst, which is the title of our segment where I complain about airplanes and stuff and airports. And then they're like, BT Dubs, just changing your flights around. Don't mind us. Here's a $15 convenience fee for us constantly shuffling your flights around. Thanks.
How convenient.
How convenient. Thank you so much for the privilege of flying on your spectacular airline. Your magic winged chariot.
Just one thing I've never understood. Convenience fees for, buying tickets to, a show.
Yeah. Well, that saves you having to go and buy them...
They're only sold through them.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I don't know where tickets come from.
Ticketmaster is usually, the biggest culprit there, because they're just the biggest company that does it. But yeah, for a lot of these shows, they're the only way you can get tickets, other than through a scalper,
right,
outside.
I wonder.
But they'll charge a $20 convenience fee,
right,
for selling you the ticket.
Yeah. Why couldn't they just make that
part of the ticket price,
or call it something else, or whatever?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I hate that stuff so much. Just. Transparency and the lack of transparency.
Mm-hmm.
What else? Last episode we talked about I got my visa for India. I had to jump through hoops. I don't yet have all the supplies I need for my South America climb because I'm doing all these things back to back to back. I have a very slim sort of re-ration period where I switch all my gear. So I'll come back from Arabia, India, Nepal, and then I'll have like 2 weeks, but I won't have enough time to get more gear. It'll just be enough time to get my gear together and switch out and head out. I don't have all that yet, but I did recently place an order. We were just talking about this between episodes. Placed an order for most of my gear. I don't have the expensive tent that I'll need to not die yet, but I do have some stuff. But yeah, I'm concerned because the negative 20-degree Fahrenheit sleeping bag I ordered averaged for about $300 or $400, but I got it for like $100. I don't want to die, like that way anyway.
It's the insulation. It's just full of the beans they use in, like, beanbag chairs.
Yeah. This bag is really heavy. What is this full of? Pencils. We filled it with pencils. These pencils aren't even broken. They're whole pencils. Some of these are sharpened. Yeah, we didn't want to waste them.
That's why it only costs $100.
Yeah. There's a lot of wind and water inside of my sleeping bag. Like, yes, but you'll notice that wind and water stays quite warm. Warm enough to give you all kinds of diseases. To prolong the torture. You won't gently freeze to death. You will go out horrifically.
You'll be conscious the entire time.
Yeah. Your skin will do more of a boiling off your bones. As you wish to be pulled to death. Yeah, so I haven't done that yet. But we did talk about, I did buy my ticket. We were just talking about that. And right when I got done buying my ticket and getting my visa, India, the city of Delhi, was just declared a state of medical emergency because a horrific smog just rolled in that is 30 times greater than the tolerable amount of smog. Huh. The 30 times greater than the concentration. The entire city has been shut down. It's like a no-go quarantine zone. It just looks foggy, but
yeah.
like a poisonous death fog. And I was like, yeah, of course.
So like Beijing.
Yeah, basically Beijing, which I am also familiar with. And I'm like, of course. Why wouldn't it be like this? This is me going to a place. Of course. Then right before I get there, it'll probably fall into civil war. Fantastic. Can't wait to get to my Mad Max dystopian wasteland like every other place I go. And a buddy of mine, I was on Facebook, actually the guy that I'm meeting in India, who don't remember if I mentioned this on this episode or not, he needs a recharge, so he's like, we need to go to India and recharge. Fantastic. So that's what we're doing. And we're going to meet there. We have a rendezvous point, since neither of us are going to have a contact method when we get there. And his girlfriend that he lives with, very nice girlfriend. They live together, and anytime I come and visit him in Arizona, or he used to live like in New Jersey, right outside of New York, across the bridge. And anytime I would come and visit, like, she likes me as a person, but doesn't really like me coming around too much because she can get him to, like, pretty much live a normal life. And then the second I come around, or he, like, reads my blog or something, like, he gets all flared up, and he's like, we gotta go!
I want to go do all that now!
Yeah, we gotta go out into the desert and hunt some treasure and make some fires with sticks, and it's gonna be great! We're gonna run a marathon thing, and it's gonna be awesome! And, yeah, so he just gets all jazzed up, which I like. I really like that, but yeah, you know, it just would go a while, and he'll just, like, check out my blog and be like, oh, man, let's do some stuff! And, so I got on Facebook to liaise with him, and he's like, yeah, you know, the girl, I'm not going to say her name, but she's like, yeah, she's concerned I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to come back. We're going to go to India, and I'm not going to come back. And I was like, oh, I'll make sure you get back. I mean, you know, probably the reason she's concerned you're not going to come back is because of me and my bad decisions, but I'll get you back. Don't worry. And he's like, yeah, I went to the doctor to, like, get immunizations and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing that. I've never been to the doctor. Not about to go now. And he's like, yeah, I went, got my medicine and shots and whatever. And he's like, they convinced me to get malaria medicine. And I was like, oh, nice, you got some malaria medicine. And he's like, yep, they got me. Second I walked out, I immediately had buyer's remorse. And I didn't ask him how much he paid, but, like, historically, malaria medicine's not cheap. And they do it usually prophylactically, so he's got to take it like a week before he leaves, and then like the whole time he's there, and like a week when he gets back, or something like that. But and I was like, oh, she's concerned you're not going to make it back, or not going to come back. And he's like, yeah. I was like, well, did you hear about the Delhi? Because he's flying out of Delhi. And I was like, did you hear about Delhi being declared a state of emergency? And he was like, haha, no, are you joking? Like, I am not joking. He's like, wait, what? And then I told him about that. He was like, oh my God. And I was like, yep. And he's like, well, that's, I would have been disappointed, if this hadn't happened, This is this typical traveling around with you stuff, meaning me. Typical Nash stuff. And I was like, yeah. And I was like, but don't worry, at least you got that malaria medicine. And he's like, yeah, at least I won't be getting malaria, I guess. And I'm like, did you hear about super malaria? And he's like, now you're joking, right? Like, actually, I'm not. It's a new strain of malaria, completely resistant to all known treatments, and it's killing tons of people out of control. It's getting crazy. And he's like, you're not joking? Like, I am not joking. Congratulations on your expensive-ass malaria medicine. Now let's go to the poison control center or whatever. And then later on, he sent me a message, and he's like, "Oh, I got you a hot pink breathing mask for when we're walking around Delhi, like one of those like sick masks,
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh boy, it'll be the belle of the ball." So gonna look ridiculous. I'll probably put like tiny bunny ears on it or something, just to look completely stupid as we're the only ones out and about, as our hair is falling out of our head as we take our last few breaths. It's just like, oh man, freaking India. Which, very much like Beijing, but yeah. Speaking of which, I actually have experience with a similar smoggy situation the time I went to Malaysia and Singapore. A death smog rolled in that was like state of emergency level. Not quite what they've got going on in Delhi right now, but pretty bad. Like bad enough to shut down Singapore for like a few days for the most part. So yeah, kind of like a temporary, like surprise, you're Beijing for a day. Like not as bad as Beijing is every single day, but pretty bad. But yeah, so I've got a layover in Abu Dhabi. Did you hear what they just built in Abu Dhabi?
I know they're building shit all the time. Giant ass buildings.
Yeah, they're building. They're definitely building things all the time. But did you hear the big thing that they just built? A specific thing they just built.
It's not the islands.
It's not the islands.
Then no.
They just built the Louvre. The famous Parisian, the famous Parisian museum. Well, Abu Dhabi has one now. It's the Louvre.
So it's like a replica.
It's
as
actually
far as like the.
It's actually its own unique architecture. They paired with the Louvre in France, and this is an actual authorized Louvre. It is the Louvre #2. It really is the Louvre, but it's in Abu Dhabi, and so the United Arab Emirates contributed like half of the exhibits, and then the Louvre from Paris sent over the other half of the exhibits.
Interesting.
And so they started construction 10 years ago, and it just opened this week. And so I'm going to go and hopefully check it out. I'll be real mad if the one day I'm there is the one day that it's closed. But you were mentioning at the end of last episode, in between shows, you don't know why anyone would want to live there because you hear real bad things. Well, apparently, the construction of the Louvre in the Arabian Louvre was some point of controversy because the workers were basically slaves and they kept dying and were like horrifically mistreated, allegedly.
And the thing is, like, that's what I keep hearing about, like, basically everything built into Arab Emirates. That, like, the people, like, usually the construction workers are people from outside countries.
Right. That
come there because they pay well. But from what I've read is that basically they're essentially held captive there. Like, they're the people employing them hold their passports. And,
I've heard
won't let them leave.
I've heard that. Yeah, it's kind of an indentured servitude. Like, you signed on for this, you leave when it's done.
Yeah. And then, basically, there is no OSHA.
Yeah, no.
Safety is not a big concern.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that the Arabian Louvre and many other things are literally built on the corpses of its workers.
Yeah.
But it looks real nice. So quality corpses is what they have there. Looks real nice. So I'm hoping to go give it a visit. I'm a big fan of museums and cultures and whatnot, obviously. So that's going to be really cool because it's only gonna, it will have been open for just a week, and it's been hot news for like over a decade. There was skeptics saying it would never get finished because of all the deaths and delays and things like that, and the whole thing seemed ridiculous because they had to, get all these different things together, but they did it. So hopefully, if the thing gets blown up in a terrorist attack or shut down for some scandal or whatever, hopefully I can get there before that happens and really soak in the culture. But yeah, what else have you heard about Abu Dhabi that you don't know why anyone would want to live there?
Just generally the kind of repressive laws.
I mean...
it's weird because like they have these things where like I've heard kind of conflicting stuff where like because like apparently it's like illegal to drink alcohol
in places.
But then they have like nightclubs,
right? Like you can't like be out and about on the street drinking it, but you can like go to an establishment for alcohol where it's understood that you consume it there, where it's like kind of like a quarantined special section for alcohol. You just can't be like drinking it in public. Or, showing off your shoulders,
right?
But you just, especially if you're a foreigner, you can get away with a little bit more.
And that's what I've understood too. Like as a foreigner, they give a little more leeway,
which is much appreciated because usually it's the other way around, where as a foreigner you get even less leeway. But they do say that basically all of Arabia is treated like kind of like a neighborhood bar or whatever, where like if you're trying to do something but then an Arabian comes in, like they automatically get preferential treatment.
Right.
Like whatever it is you're trying to do. Like you're waiting in line for a table and you're next in line and then an Arabian guy walks in, that table is his for sure. So you just keep on waiting. But on the other hand, you're probably not going to get in super big trouble for drinking an extra beer at a nightclub. So that's nice. That's very nice. But, definitely be on the lookout.
Then the other stuff I heard is just like, there's obviously a lot of wealth there.
Yeah.
And just like, a concentration of rich assholes.
Yeah, that's a thing. In rich places. Actually, this all boils over to... we're going to talk about Singapore. There's a lot of similarities there. You're talking about a lot of oppressive rules.
Yeah.
A lot of rich people, although I didn't come across any rich assholes. There must be some, statistically speaking, because Singapore has the world's largest concentration of millionaires.
Did not know that.
Yeah, we will talk about that.
So is that like per capita?
I don't know if that's like per square meter or per capita. I don't know what metric they use to get that figure. It's gotta be like per volume of space, because they do have poor people in their country, but they also have a lot of rich people. So it's and it's not a very big city state. So whereas like someplace like Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, people might be a little bit more spread out. So even though they do, like a Saudi prince would have like oil-filled jetpacks flying around, they might have more space to go fly their jetpacks around. Whereas like in Singapore, people are kind of close together. So that might be an issue. But I don't know how they get their statistic, but that's just one of those things that people are always shouting about, the world's largest concentration of millionaires. And their national pastime, this is not a joke, is shopping. It's their actual national pastime. And real nice malls. Plus it's like the weather is oppressive. Like when I was there last time,
that's why
it was
just miserably hot and humid.
Yeah, you know how you walk by those signs that show you the current temperature, the time of day, and the percentage of humidity? Those like digital signs that change in real time. Mm-hmm. I walked by one in the afternoon, and it was over 100 degrees Fahrenheit and 99% humidity.
Mm-hmm.
Miserable. Like, I didn't even know humidity could get to 99%. Like, that means if someone sneezed, all the air would turn to water and everyone would drown.
Yeah, that seems like kind of interesting because, like, I mean, if it's something like where it's like extremely foggy,
Right.
That's where like you get like super high humidity.
Yeah.
But yeah, if it's like
the water
99%
can't go
humidity,
any-
that
like-
means it's basically like what?
It's-
99% of the air is water? Literally
Yes,
water
yeah, you're
floating
just
around?
walking through like I am sweating everyone's sweat who's ever lived. Every breath I take, I almost drown. Like, it's so excruciating. And then you're like, maybe I'll just go to this skyscraper shopping mall that's inside and air-conditioned with a controlled breeze. This is nice.
Yeah.
Like, you can definitely, I mean, you definitely get it. Let's see. So, yeah, I guess we'll just get right in there. If you don't want to talk about jolly old Arabia anymore, I'll put these notes over here. These are old notes. We don't need these notes. Get out of here. It's time for these new, fresh notes. What do we got? Okay, so I went to Singapore. I was passing through, actually. I had just come from China. Doing the regular stuff. I was like in the Shaolin Temple, stealing their ancient Chinese kung fu secrets.
Mm-hmm. Like one does.
Like one does. Like one Nash does. Learning in Tai Chi style, super fast. I met the last true Shaolin monk out in the mountains of the Shaolin mountain range. That was pretty rad. The temple itself, it's alright. It's pretty cool. But maybe finding some things there in the area and taking them out of the area, like one does. Who knows? Where I got this, although that's not what I'm referring to. It's a bracelet, by the way, that I'm pointing to. For those of you that aren't in the room right now, I'm pointing to a bracelet on my hand. But yeah, so I left China, and I went to Singapore because it was kind of a midway... Well, I went to the Philippines, and then I went to Singapore. And it was kind of a midway stop on my way to Australia to do my leadership survival training course in the Outback for a couple months. But I had some time before I had to be there. And so I stopped off at Singapore, which is a city-state with the world's largest concentration of millionaires. But I wasn't actually planning to base out of Singapore. I was just hanging out, getting some new bandanas and stuff. And I was actually heading to Malaysia. Well, we'll get to that in a second. So Singapore supposedly has the world's highest concentration of millionaires. I don't know if I wrote the figure down. Is it 3 out of 4 people or 1 out of 4 people? I don't remember.
Still, either way, that's insane.
Yeah. They've got a lot of... So, the running joke is that Singapore is a fine city, which has 2 meanings, in that it's a very...
Everything is a fine.
It's a very clean, nice city to go to, and everything is illegal, so you will get fined.
Yeah.
You have to sign a waiver when you enter Singapore. If you are found with any amount of weed or drugs, but even weed, marijuana, you are put to death on the first Friday after they find you. You're hung. You're hung to death via noose. There's nothing you can do about it.
Believe hanged.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You are bound by the laws of the country that you enter.
I mean, there was
Wow.
I know it was pretty big in the news. There was a American tourist there who got in trouble for, I think it was like graffiti or something.
Yeah, and he got caned.
Got publicly caned.
Yeah, publicly
And there was a big
caned.
to-do here about it because, like, they're like, oh, they should be able to do that. But yeah.
Yeah, you're bound by the laws
When
of
you
the
go
country
into another
you're in.
country, you have to follow their laws.
Yeah, like if you're
I
in...
mean, I guess that makes sense, but like being able to like kill that person.
Yeah,
like,
that's
you
the
know,
law
like,
there.
You would think.
That's
like,
why you have to sign the waiver.
But if it was a thing like, like maybe somebody comes here from England and they murder somebody. Okay,
Yeah.
well obviously we're gonna put them in jail, but how about we also
I mean, yeah,
extradite
there's-
them back to their country?
Yeah, there's
and
like,
then
I mean, there is like,
But
the
you
whole
don't have to
extradition
extradite them, is
Yeah.
the thing.
thing.
They
Usually,
didn't break English law. They broke American law.
yeah.
and usually with the like extradition thing, it's usually with
Plus, the home country has to file for extradition.
Yes.
They have to request. Otherwise, it's deportation, not extradition.
Oh.
Otherwise, you're just deporting them back, and then England can do nothing if they don't want to, because they're just like, well, you didn't break our laws, you broke their laws.
And usually countries that have like kind of extradition agreements are usually ones that are pretty closely knit.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's a huge hassle for extradition.
Yeah.
That's why when I had one of my warrants out, and they're like, we're coming to get you, and I was like, good luck. You can't get me over here. You're going to have to catch me doing something else first, then file for extradition, then send someone out to go get me. Ha! I mean, they did find a way because I was still in school and they just cut off all my funding. And I was like, oh, right, because of the warrant. That makes sense. I'm going to go take care of this. But, yeah, if it wasn't for that, they couldn't have got me. So in order for extradition to be a thing, if you, like, so if an English guy came over here and murdered somebody and then went back to England, it would be the United States who filed for extradition on that person, and then England would have to release them to the United States. The United States would have to send somebody to England to go get this guy and bring him back. And, England would have to agree to it. That would be the extradition. But they couldn't arrest him in England until he broke a law over there.
Right.
And then they would hold him since the extradition request was being made. So it's complicated. I mean, it's not as simple as all that, but that's it in a nutshell. So basically, yeah, you sign a waiver as you go in, and you're like, yeah, if I'm caught with any weed, if I have any weed at all, I'm going to get hung in 1 to 6 days, and I will be dead. And there is nothing that can be done about that. Something that is kind of weird.
I think the proper term for that execution is hanged. One can be hung,
right?
But that's referring to something else.
Ah, the wiener. Okay.
Yeah.
You are doomed to have a massive wang if you are caught with drugs on our soil. Congratulations for your terrible burden. Your glorious burden. Yeah. So you're what? Hanged? You said?
Yes.
Is that the grammatically correct term?
That is the correct term for
hanged
for
by the neck
executed
until
by
dead. Noose.
Strangulation.
Okay.
Hopefully,
I was about to say,
neck snapping.
I was going to say it's normally a neck snap. That's because strangulation is the one that takes the long time. You don't want that one. But yeah, so that's a thing. Rumor has it, I never saw it done, but rumor has it, if you're in public areas in Singapore and they have reasonable cause to suspect something, they can do a random piss test on you. And then if you test positive for weed that you smoked before you even got there, you're still convicted. So you might want to flush your system before you go. I don't know if that's true, or maybe it was and no longer is. I don't know. But I know the weed thing is still very much true, like if you have any. And the reason for that is their escalated rationale is that if you have any drugs, then you are vis-a-vis part of the drug trade, so you are muling drugs one way or another. And they do sit within the Golden Triangle for like heroin and stuff like that. So if you have any drugs, then you are part of a drug smuggling ring, and you will be put to death. 0 tolerance. So there you go. So just be warned.
So if you ever go to Singapore, don't do drugs.
Right. So you're like, okay, drugs, hard stance on the drugs. I get it. But yeah, so everything is illegal in Singapore. Spitting on the ground, you're looking at $500 or $1,000 fine.
So I know littering's a big thing.
Littering is big. You're looking at $500, $1,000 fine. Chewing gum is illegal in Singapore. You cannot.
Really?
Yeah, you cannot be in the possession of chewing gum or chew gum in Singapore. It is against the law. You're looking at a very, very hefty fine. You can have chewing gum, but only with a doctor's prescription. And you can't chew it in public.
So like if you got like nicotine gum or something that was prescribed.
I don't know how you get a doctor. Like, hey doc, I got the thing where I want to be like eating food, but I don't want there to really be any food. Like I'm just real hungry for flavor and like sort of a masticating motion. The doctor's like, I know it's just what you need, but this is very habit forming, so please be careful.
Here's a prescription for juicy fruit.
Wrigley's. I hate juicy fruit. They need to call that juicy foot. It's so gross.
No, juicy fruit's great for like 5 seconds.
It's gross.
And then it's nasty tasteless.
They need to add a flavor to the... That's like what gum is before it turns into gum. It's like this very neutral, bland grossness.
Yeah. It's not super flavorful. It's not like, spearmint.
I am not a fan at all. But, so unless you have a doctor's prescription for gum, the rationale is anyone who's ever chewed gum around winds up spitting it on the ground somewhere. And then it gets stuck to shoes and ruins sidewalks, and people are always sticking it on desks and street signs. Fucks up the whole world. So they're just like, get it out of here. No chewing gum. Illegal. So yeah, that's right. Chewing gum is illegal in Singapore. You can't just go buy it. Or you couldn't when I was there. So yeah,
They're
good
making
times.
their own in their bathtubs.
Right. It's a huge black market for chewing gum. And then, some things you'd expect, like public urination, public intox.
Yeah.
Any amount of littering. What else? Jaywalking, of course. Just all the laws taken to the max.
And so the thing is, though, a lot of those same things are illegal here.
Yeah, but they're
It's
just not
just
as
not
enforced.
enforced.
Right. Isn't jaywalking just when you cross the street, not at a designated crosswalk?
Yeah, but
Oh,
you're
okay.
walking in between traffic. And
Yeah,
shit, you
yeah.
know?
Yeah, doesn't that come from... I don't know if this is true or not, but doesn't that come from Jaybird?
I
They
was
said it was
just wondering that where the J came
They
from.
said it was something about hillbilly type people, were I don't know. It was relating to poorer farm type.
Oh,
groups.
I thought, and I don't know if this is true. I thought it was from the Jaybird because Jaybirds just wander into dangerous situations, irrespective of what's going on, and so jaywalking was supposedly just a dangerous way to meander into traffic, not at a designated spot. So I don't know if that's the actual origin of that term or not, or if that's just an apocryphal story. But that's what I heard. So give it a googly moogly and see what you get. A good googly moogly, and see what you get. But yeah, so everything's legal in Singapore. So I was there, and I get in there, and I'm like, oh great! All the things that I would normally do are gonna get me thrown into jail. I will tell you though, I think weapons, possession of weapons, and I'm always got something going on. They did confiscate a bunch of my goodies. Phooey on them for that. Their airport, though, is consistently ranked as the best airport in the world. Now, I don't like airports, but of the turds, that one is certainly the shiniest. It's got... When I was there, it had it's indoors. It's a big airport. But it's got a fully featured butterfly garden. So it's an actual forest indoors full of butterflies that you can just go wander around in. Very peaceful.
Nice.
It's got a fully featured cinema, like a movie theater with all the newest releases, but they're all free if you're in the airport. You're just
wow.
you got a layover or whatever. You're I'm just gonna go see the newest Sony box office bomb because I've got 2 hours and I want to be infuriated. So you could just go do that. What's Ben Affleck up to? Probably making brilliant movies. You just go check on him. It's pretty cool. If you had a 30-hour layover, if JFK International had a free cinema inside, I wouldn't want to wander out into the frozen wastelands of New York in January. I'd just watch 10 movies in a row. I'd watch every movie twice, or whatever was going on in there. So that's pretty cool. But then, you got the rules. The upside to having all those rules in Singapore, though, very clean and orderly city-state. And they've got the world's highest concentration of millionaires, because while gambling is legal, they do not give you the option, or didn't, give you the option of gambling yourself to destitution. So you would have to present your ID, and then something about the ID, or one of your IDs, is linked to your bank account or your savings account. And so
if you're under a certain balance,
they
just
basically
won't let you in.
they basically give you a range that you can gamble with. And then once you hit the bottom of that range, they're you're done, get out of here. They force you to save your money. So even though shopping is their national pastime, they won't let you dip below a certain threshold if you're within, a certain spectrum. That being said, of course, they do have poor people in their... I'm going to call it a country. It's technically like a city-state, but whatever. In their country, they obviously do have, poor people, but, in the mid to higher end areas, they don't give you the option. They are trying to eliminate all the poorness, They're trying to... Because that looks bad on the rest of their super clean city-state. Yeah. They can't have, 10 roof shacks. Everything's got to be a skyscraper. So...
I mean, every country would probably be a much richer country or have people with much more money if you had to do that type of a thing, even for groceries and shit. Because a lot of people just don't think about their money. They don't pay attention to it. They just fucking spend it.
Yeah, it just goes.
And they don't realize how much or little they have.
Yeah, especially now with debit cards and everything. They don't even look. They just go. Yeah. And then every once in a while they'll be I wonder how much money exists in relation to me.
That's one thing I was wanting to ask you. Do you have a bank account?
I do now. I did have to get one during one of my overseas jaunts. Actually, one of the countries I went to school in actually forced me to have a bank account. I didn't have one up until then. And they were like, you can't come here and be an official, like, resident of our country without a bank account. You have to prove that you have money, and you're not just going to wind up like a poor-ass homeless vagrant, which I did, but I take of that, but not for a while.
I know my friend Mike, like, he moved to France, and he's currently now living in Spain.
Right.
But, like, yeah, when he was, like, applying for, like, his visa to, like, go to France, that was, like, one of the things you have to
you have to prove you have the means.
You have to basically give a bank records showing here's what my balance is.
Yeah. And I actually did have to fudge that because I had to get a bank account, and I didn't have the money to, like, the prerequisite. I think it was like you had to have at least $10,000 in savings to move. It was when I moved to Japan to go to college. They're like, you need to have a bank account. You need to have at least $10,000 in here, like not counting tuition and everything else. You need to have a $10,000 buffer on top of that other stuff. And I was like, yeah, I definitely don't have that. So I just got like a bunch of different people's money and threw it in there like for a day. And so I was like, check this out. I can print it out,
and so it shows the number now.
Yeah, that's what I did, and it worked. And then I was like, here's everyone's money back. And it worked out for a little bit. But yeah, so I do have a bank account now, and it is constantly getting shut off because I will go
international transactions.
Yes, I will go to the bank and be like, hey bank, I am heading to India for a month. If there's any transactions in India, it's probably going to be one large ATM withdrawal during this 5-day time period, and then maybe one more 6 weeks later. That's probably me. No news is good news. Don't shut off this account. And they're like, okay, we're typing it up. It's all in the system. I'm like, all right, don't you shut off this account. Look, it's all set. And then I get there and try to make a withdrawal, and it's like, frozen. And then I have to, like, navigate the time zones and, like, standing in a weird foreign phone booth trying to dial, like, 36-digit phone numbers on a weird phone card to call the bank at, like, 3 in the morning, India time. I'm like, my account's frozen. I need money. And they'll be like, oh, records are showing that as a security measure. Like, everything sucks. You suck. Just give me the money that I'm saying is mine.
Well, so what's crazy, like, I've had that happen to me here.
Yeah. Yeah, like my account gets shut off all the time.
Like, I think the most recent was, like, when I had some work done on my car at, like, a CarX, and went to pay for it. It was like, your card was declined. I'm like,
you're like, but I have the money.
I'm like, I checked my balance this morning. Like, I definitely have the money. And, like, yeah, I called the bank. You're like, oh, yeah, it was just because it was a large transaction.
It was an amount I needed to spend.
And
it wasn't even
like a huge. It was like $500.
Right. Yeah.
It wasn't like a huge, like $4,000 or something. But yeah, like, I've had that happen several times where, like, I'm going to, like, buy something that's like $400 or $500.
Yeah.
And they make you call to verify. Which, I mean, on the one hand, it's like, okay, at least I know in the future if my card gets stolen or something, then
you would hope. Here's a pro tip though. If you do gallivant around foreign countries a lot, you can save a lot of money on the exchange if you're not trying to live under the radar 100%, because obviously you're being tracked when you use an ATM. If you don't care that your transaction is monitored, plus it's only this one transaction, so it's better than using your card a lot. But if you go to a foreign place and you withdraw money from a foreign ATM, it comes out in the correct currency, and you only get charged the one-time conversion fee right then, plus the ATM fee. Whereas if you go to the airport, the rates are way higher. Or if you do multiple transactions with your card over a period of time, like that, you get hit with that conversion fee every single time.
Yeah.
So it's much more lucrative, but more dangerous to take out like $500 in one go, or the equivalent of $500 in one go, like the equivalent of $500 in Indian rupees. Take those out and then just have a big money pouch tied around your wiener and sewn inside of your body so that other people can't get to it. But you carry that around with you for 5 or 6 weeks and chip away at it. And plus it's way easier to monitor your actual spending when you have a physical currency that you can see dwindling away.
Well, then I noticed some places.
Plus, a lot of places don't take cards.
Exactly. I was going to say, a lot of places, a lot easier just to pay cash than try to use credit cards.
Yeah, so if you, do a little research about currency conversions and stuff, because you can, if you know what you're doing, you can kind of game the system a little bit, which is how a lot of people make a lot of money. That's current international currency exchange, but you have to have so much, and it's a waiting game, because it's kind of like the stock market. You have to have so much money to invest, and you have to sit on it
it's
for a
only
little
worthwhile if you already have, like, thousands of dollars.
Yeah, you have to already have...
And then convert it over to something else, and you gain, like, a penny per dollar.
Right.
But you're doing it with, like, millions of it. So.
Yeah, it's a very long game that takes time and a huge amount of investing. But if you've got the venture capital, and you know what you're doing, you can make a lot doing that, and people do that. Let's see here. The reason I was in Singapore, so I just come from China doing my stuff. I was actually on my way to Malaysia, but I like Singapore. I knew someone who was there, so I popped in, hung around, got some new bandanas, did some stuff. While I was in Singapore, a horrific death smog rolled in from Indonesia and just, like, shut Singapore down. So I was like, well, I will just engage in the national pastime of shopping, even though I don't have any money. I like to window shop, so I just went to their expensive-ass malls. Plus, they got good ice cream there. So I just went to their expensive-ass malls and ate their ice cream and wandered around the malls looking at stuff and seeing movies. I love seeing movies. So I watched a lot of movies because I don't want to really breathe the air. When the air finally cleared, I went out. Singapore has... it's one of 2 places in the world that has a primary tropical rainforest in the city. So, like, within the city, you can go into the rainforest. And, like, surprise, I'm in the jungle all of a sudden. So that's pretty cool. They've got a mountain there that I went and climbed barefoot through the rainforest. It was really cool. Thought I was going to take a shortcut, which has never worked out for me. And I was like, I'm just going to take this shortcut here in the middle of the rainforest. I'm pretty sure I know where I am. Definitely wound up 6 miles off target and in the middle of a, like, troop of monkeys, like in the middle of the jungle. And I was like, oh, monkeys! At least you're not bees. I mean, they were friendly monkeys, but it's just like,
depending on the monkeys, they can be pretty vicious.
Yes. And I don't know if I don't think I've told that story yet.
I've heard baboons will really fuck you up.
I don't think we've had that story on the... We haven't. I haven't told that story yet. When I was a monk who did the 88 Temple Pilgrimage, and I walked 900 miles barefoot through all the climate zones, and I
I know we touched on
wound
that
up
before,
getting accosted by
I didn't
apes.
hear the monkey.
Yes, apes, actually. That factors into the story, but that's a story for another day. But yeah, so I wandered in there, and I was just like, oh, man. Also, I got a note here. When I was... no, wait, that was in Malaysia. Remind me about leeches when I get to Malaysia. This is important. Important stuff. So anyway, I wandered around Singapore, but I was actually on my way to Malaysia. And the reason... Get out of here, notes. The reason I was on my way to Malaysia is because I was hunting down an ancient kung fu master who is the only person on the planet currently living who can do the ancient one-finger Zen technique. This technique is supposedly where you can focus all your vital focus life essences, your chi or your ki or whatever, your concentration, and you can do a handstand on one finger on one hand, but its combat application is to strike with that one finger. So the way this guy proves it, besides doing a handstand on one finger on one hand, so like anybody can break a coconut, right? You just chop it right open with your hands. I break coconut open like once a week for food, and it's fun. Like anybody can do it. It's technique. Mm-hmm. Like I could teach a 10-year-old girl to chop coconut open. No big deal, just with the brown husk and everything. This guy will take a coconut with the brown husk and the green husk around that, and he'll hold it in one hand, and with his other hand, he'll take his finger and ram it all the way through. Now, just with the brown husk, it has the same PSI to break as a human skull. With the green husk on the outside, much tougher. That means this guy, in theory, could take his index finger and just put it straight through your head. Anywhere he wants. Especially through your temple. But, if he wanted to go through the forehead, he could, in theory. Like, this guy, and I was like, I'm going to steal his ancient technique. I will hunt him down. And he's old, so when he dies, I'll be the only one on the planet who can do the one finger Zen technique. Perfect plan. And I was like, he likes breaking coconuts. I like breaking coconuts. I'm going to get together with this guy and we'll be best friends forever. He'll definitely share his secrets with me, because everyone always does. I'm charming. I'm a lovable rogue with a heart of gold, and everyone loves my dedication. This is going to be awesome. So, the part of Malaysia that this guy is always in is Malacca Malaysia, which is not too far away from Singapore. So I just hopped over to Singapore to, like, party for a while on the underground, because you can't, like, partying's probably against the law. And so I was like, all right, off to Malaysia. So this guy, there's a night market that goes on in Malacca, Malaysia called the Jonker Street Night Market. It's like a big shopping carnival kind of thing that goes on pretty much every Saturday night. And they've got a big stage. And so every Saturday night, this guy will get up on stage and blast his finger through a coconut, demonstrating the one finger's in technique, just for funsies. He's kind of getting up there in years. But I will say, he currently holds the Guinness World Record for most coconuts penetrated with a single finger in 1 minute. And I think it's 3 or 4. But if you watch the videos of him doing it, it looks like he's really drawing the drama out. He could probably really up the number. Also, of course he has the record. I'm pretty sure he's the only one who can do it.
Go say, like,
you can set that record at 1.
Say, what's the next highest? 1, maybe?
Yeah, 0, I believe, is the next closest. A hard 0. And then up to whatever this guy feels like. Like, it's pretty impressive. So they've got this night market. So I was like, okay, this guy's there every Saturday. Well, I don't just want to get there, like, on a Friday. And then, I want to really enjoy Malacca, Malaysia. So I'm going to get there whenever. So I got there, I tried to get there several days early. I wound up getting there, like, a week early. So I could really take it in, right? So first up, I get to the border, the Singapore-Malaysian border. And this Malaysian official was like, man, this was an exact quote. He was like, you picked literally the worst time to come here, because the entire country was enveloped in that smog, that, like, death smog. And I was like, yeah, I know. Thank you. I am aware that everything is toxic now.
It's just been following me.
Yeah, I was like, this is, this? Yeah, I brought this. This is my life. You're welcome. It'll leave when I leave. Don't you worry about this. But yeah, so there's a train that you can take from Singapore to close to Malacca, or maybe all the way to Malacca. Here's the interesting thing about the train. Depending on which side of the border you're on and which direction you're going, the price for the train was the same number of units regardless of the currency. So you could pay 200 Malaysian ringgits, or you could pay 200 Singapore dollars. Now, 200 Singapore dollars, I don't remember what the conversion is, but it's close to like a US dollar.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, a Malaysian ringgit is like 20 cents. So that's an example of, like, a gaming the currency exchange. Because one of those is like 1/6 the cost, but it was the same number of units. So if you didn't know that, you'd be paying 6 times as much for the same ticket, which is ridiculous and infuriating. But a lot of stuff is like that in third world areas, which Singapore is really nice, but Malaysia is, I mean, it's nice to me, but it's still a third world place. And so I'm there. I got on the train, and trains and buses make me sleepy, so I promptly fell asleep and way overshot where I was going. Woke up, like, the next day, way far away, and I was like, son of a bitch. And there was no trains running when I needed them to run, so I took a bus. I bought a bus ticket. And I went to this bus station window, and I was like, hey, can I get a bus to Malacca? This person was like, yeah, no problem. It'll be this much. And I was like, sure. And I got a ticket, and then I waited around, and that bus never came, because it turns out that wasn't even a real ticket. So
turns out that was just some dude in the bus station.
It was a legit ticket. Like, everything was legit. It was a real bus station window. A guy in the bus station window sold me a ticket. It was just a ticket for a bus that didn't exist. And I was like, oh, thank you. So I went to a different bus station window, and they were like, yeah, this isn't a real thing, but we'll get you on this bus. And I was like, no offense, but I'm very skeptical. And they're like, no, this is the bus. Go talk to the driver. You can see it right now. And I was like, okay. So I did. It was legit. Got on. Finally made it to Malacca, Malaysia. Kicked around. Pretty awesome. Here's what I didn't know before going there to hunt this guy down. Malacca, Malaysia is the pirate capital of the world.
So I know there is a lot of, when we say piracy, but we're talking, actual pirates on boats.
Yeah, on boats, on little motorboats. The Malaccan Straits are where the highest number of pirate attacks occur in the world. I had no idea. I thought it was going to be like off the coast of Mogadishu in Somalia or something.
Yeah, like you
but
hear
it's
about Somalian
not.
pilots. But yeah, I had heard that like there was a lot of pirates in Malaysia. But I didn't know Malacca specifically.
Yeah, the pirate capital of the world. Just taking down boats and human trafficking and all the stuff goods, all the stuff you associate with pirates is there. But I didn't realize I was there for like a week, and they all treated me great. And just looking back, it's like I really need to reevaluate my life. That I'm like blending in so well. I'm pretty sure that they were just like, well, this guy definitely belongs here. Just look at the way he saunters around, not paying for anything. It's just,
this guy's clearly a pirate.
He's clearly one of us. No reason to stab this guy. So I was just like, I need to reevaluate. Like, look in the mirror. I'm like, what about this? Could be mistaken for a pirate. Oh, right. All right.
What is it? People look at me and just think like, he probably traffics people.
Yeah. To freedom. I traffic them to freedom. People are not cargo. But yeah, so I was there, screwed around in Malacca, Malaysia for a week, doing fun things. I went into this hostel that I wasn't staying in, and got some free complimentary breakfast for the guests, and did my laundry, and then left. Didn't pay for anything. I'm not proud of the numerous times that I've done that, but I'm also not ashamed. It's just a thing I've done.
Yeah.
So many times. Definitely not ashamed. Free breakfast and laundry. Good times. But, yeah.
It's a thing that's easy to do at hotels here.
Yes, and I do that at hotels a lot. The trick is to walk in with confidence.
Yeah.
Sometimes when I'm out on the
act
street,
like you belong
yeah.
there.
yeah. If I'm just walking around, I'm like, man, I'm hungry and I got a rumbly tummy. I need to find a diner to destroy and a diner's bathroom to destroy. And just be like, oh, a hotel. And I just walk in and be like, oh, top of the morning to you. Just going to go do all the things I do now that I'm a guest here. You know how it is. Go do all the stuff and leave. It's just confidence. Confidence will get you wherever. Went on a pub crawl one night to kill some time, and ran into this chick. Didn't know her before. We hit it off and hung out for a while. Went on this pub crawl, and then we went to this one like riverside, oceanside, I don't know, waterside pub, and we got a basket of beer, and we were looking at the menu, and we're just like, okay, what is the strongest, cheapest beer we could get? And we got this beer that holds the distinction of being the only beer I have not been able to choke down. It was called Camel Beer, and they came in like giant tallboy cans of like 18 or 24 ounces, and just a picture of a camel on the can, bright yellow can. Got a big basket of them, like a bouquet of these giant beers. Very cheap, very strong. We cracked it open. I could not choke this down. Like, I couldn't force it into my body. I managed to drink one whole can. This chick got 3/4 of the can. And they were looking at this big-ass basket, and we're like, we can't. Like, we physically can't.
I don't want any more of this.
I've got room in my body. Like, I just can't fit this. Like, it won't go. My body's rejecting it. And she was like, yeah, I can't finish this. Can you finish this? I was like, no, I literally can't. Like, cannot. I'm not able to. And like the waiter person came by, and they're like, hey, can I help you? And we were like, yeah, can you take this away? And the guy's like, what do you mean? Like, we want a different basket of beer, please. Probably anything else. The guy's like, I mean, I can take this away, but like, you're not gonna get a refund. Like, there's gonna be no transference. Like, it's just, you bought these, and then I could get them out of here if you want, but you should.
You got to exchange them.
Yeah. He's like, you can take them with you if you want, and we're like, get them out of here. And this guy took them away. Like, I'm like,
he's like, all right, I get like 6 beers now.
Yeah, like, I just can't. Like, I would probably rather drink a camel's urine than drink this beer. Like, it was so bad, I can't effectively communicate how bad it was.
So was the actual like taste of it was
bad? Like, I couldn't do it, man. And I've drank bull diarrhea, you know that. Yeah, I couldn't drink this beer. It was so bad. It's the only thing, like, because there's plenty of beers I don't like, but I can drink them. I physically couldn't drink this beer. And we were just like, yes, just please remove them from our site, please. And yeah, so we did. And then we got new beers and drank a big basket of those beers. And they were fine. Fine enough. You know what a rickshaw is? You know? Mm-hmm. Like a basket for hauling people around. You got a guy that pulls it. It's like a horse-drawn carriage, but the horse is a guy. Mm-hmm. It's like that. And it's like you're in a big, shady wicker basket. So Malaysia has those, but they're called trishaws. But they decorate, like each trishaw owner-driver decorates them to the max.
So it's like
distinguish them.
Like the trikes in the Philippines.
Yes. And I'm talking like giant boombox sound systems. I'm talking like fully functioning like flying angel wings coming off the side. I'm talking like you're driving around like in a gigantic fully decorated Christmas tree. Like they are so loud and gaudy. And there'll be like 20 of these things coming at you at once, like neon flashing strobe lights coming off of them. They're nuts. And they're so cheap to ride around in. Yeah. Like they're just giant braggadocio mobiles. I don't know why everyone wouldn't take them everywhere. Like, I'm going to the bathroom. Bring me the Trishaw. It's like, like you're driving in a rave. Like you're just taking the rave with you. It's really cool. But anyway, so I was there for like a week. Saturday rolls around. The Jonker Street night market opens up. And I'm like, here we go. It's time. It's time for business.
Before you get to the main story.
All right.
Do I need to bring up leashes?
Oh, yes, you do. Thank you. This is why we can't do the show without you. Or why I should take notes in real time, one of the two. But, yeah, so leeches. Anyway, while I was there, there's rainforests around, and the rainforest in Singapore. So when I was heading out into the one rainforest, I ran into this chick, and she had just come back. She's like, hey, you going to the rainforest? And I was like, yeah. And she said, yeah, I actually just came back from the doctor. And I don't know if this is true, right? I'm just getting this from this girl. I don't know why she would have a reason to lie. Some people do. But this is what was told to me, so just take it as you will. I don't know if this is some urban legend that everyone's heard, but this is what I heard. So I'm like, oh yeah. She's like, I just came from the doctor, and he was inspecting me because I'm getting ready to go to the rainforest. And I was like, oh cool. She's like, yeah, I just wanted to make sure I was healthy. And he was like, yeah, whatever you do, don't wear shorts into the rainforest. Which I did, by the way. But they were like knee-length shorts. And I was not happy because everything's made of spikes. Mm-hmm. And like itchy vines and like bugs that are knives. Just crazy stuff. I knew better. But also I was climbing barefoot, so I was already going to be messed up, so who cares? But she was like, yeah, the doctor was like, yeah, I just saw a girl in here like a couple weeks back who went into the rainforest and she's wearing shorts and she fell very ill. And we couldn't figure out what was wrong with her. And she kept coming in like every few days. She was just getting sicker and sicker and sicker. And we couldn't figure out what was wrong with her. And she finally died. And supposedly, this girl told me that the doctor told her they did an autopsy on the girl. And they found out that because she was wearing like Daisy Dukes when she was in the rainforest, she got a leech in her vagina that crawled up her cervix and then just kept leaching blood out of her body and got so engorged that it eventually killed her. So they just found a gigantic, like, necrotic leech inside of her uterus.
You'd think...
You'd think you would notice?
Yeah,
I don't know.
And not just be like, oh, I just kind of feel kind of crappy. You'd be like, no, there's a very centralized...
Well, here's the thing, like... I guess they were, like, poking around in there, but didn't find anything because it was so far up, and it didn't register that would be a possibility. But you do hear stories of, like, chicks that, like, jam hot dogs in their vaginas, and then, like, a tiny bit of the hot dog will break off, and they're like, oh, no big deal. But then that will get infected, and sometimes that kills them. So that's not a super uncommon thing. But just, the mechanics of a leech getting up there, I don't know. So I don't know what kind of underwear this chick wasn't wearing, or whatever. I mean, you'd think people would be more prepared when they wander into a tropical rainforest, but also you'd think that people wouldn't wander around in there barefoot climbing mountains, which I do. So Who knows? This chick was probably as stupid as I am, and she just wound up with a leech in her vagina and died. So whether or not that's true, I don't know. But that's what was told to me by this lady who says that it was told to her by her doctor in Singapore. So,
I mean, it's a possibility. And there are those, and then I think it's in the Amazon.
Talking about the amoeba that swims up your pee stream?
Yeah.
And then poofs up like a pufferfish?
Yeah.
And wrecks your urethra? Yeah, that's a real thing.
So yeah, so like I said, like I know that's a real thing. So like that's why the lesion of vagina's like maybe it's plausible. Wow.
Yeah.
How's it gonna swim up your pee stream though? Because your pee stream is like thousands of drops. Like it's not a continual like stream of water.
If you are standing over the water and you pee into it, there's like a micro chance that it can swim up your pee stream and into your wiener. If you are in the water,
much more likely,
and you pee.
Oh, okay,
you're
that makes
you're
sense.
opening the floodgates, and it'll
sense.
just run in there.
Okay.
So I mean, if you're peeing into the water, yes, there's a micro chance that it can like salmon its way up your pee stream and into your wiener. I don't take the chance because supposedly it gets up into your urethra and then does like a puffer fish.
Immediately?
Yes, once it gets
God.
up there, and then that's how it stays, and they have to go in and just pull it out, and it just like wrenches like your. It'd be like putting a pipe cleaner in your wiener and like pushing a button, and then it turns into like a spiky thing, and then you pull it out.
Oh, pipe cleaner part sounded fine.
Yeah.
If you've ever had a catheter, that's basically what a catheter is.
As we've previously established, I've never been to the doctor, so no, I've never had a catheter. Just the thought of it makes my.
It's a tube. They put up your urethra, and
yeah.
then there's a little balloon.
Yeah.
That they inflate that keeps it in there.
Oh.
Yeah. They don't want it falling out.
Yeah, I was catheterized when I had back surgery.
Yeah,
And,
I mean it's super common.
Yeah, like basically anytime if you're going to be like unconscious
bedridden for a while or like unable to.
I'd rather just wake up with pee all over.
Yeah, I was paralyzed, bedridden for like 3 days one time, but I was like paralyzed on my side, like kind of 3/4. So I just like stuck a bottle, just kind of like peed all over myself trying to get into the bottle.
and honestly, that's what I had to do when I first came home.
Yeah,
I basically just had like a jug kind of thing.
Yeah,
just getting up, like I had. I don't know if we talked about it before, but I had like pretty major back surgery.
Yeah, I think you did mention that.
That like getting up was just like a huge ordeal, and then getting back down again. So yeah, like for the first like week or so I was back home, I was basically just like either in a bed or in like a recliner, and like if I needed to go pee, I just had like a plastic
you just go you
jug
just
thing that
start
just
peeing.
Like pee in there.
Yeah, just start peeing. Where's the toilet? You are already there.
Like I would get up if I had to go number 2. But,
well, aren't you Mr. Fancy Pants?
And that's what I said
too
before.
nice
You
to have a
never
poop in.
realize how low to the ground a toilet is until like you can't bend at all, and you just kind of have to like fall backwards onto it.
Oh, I am intimately familiar. Try using like an Asian style squat toilet.
Yeah,
like you'll be real happy that there's handrails everywhere. And if you get to one without handrails, you're like, I don't know what we're gonna do here. I'm just
gonna stand over.
Yeah, you just go like hands to knees and hope for the best. Like you just like, well, I'm definitely gonna poop into my pants. Like something wicked this way comes. I don't know what we're gonna do here. The trigonometry is all wrong with this. Like the blast radius is too strong. But anyway, so the Jonker Street Night Market starts up. It's Saturday. I'm walking there. I'm like, yeah, here we go. This is the whole reason I came here. I am psyched to steal this ancient Chinese secret, and then I'll be the only one who can do the one finger Zen technique. Brilliant. I'm so smart. And I'm like walking past, and I remember looking down, and there was like a little like water drainage thing on the side of the road, like a sewer grate type thing. And I looked in, and there was an alligator in there. It just like looked up at me. And I was just like, all right, okay.
Right on.
Yeah, neat.
I'll remember that. I'll just remember that if I decide to climb down there for
yeah,
some reason.
like, okay, well, carry on. You stay there, and I'm going to go this way. Neat. Like, it wasn't huge. Like, it was like a
Cayman kind of thing.
like an adolescent alligator. So, I mean, it was probably like this big. But still, like, that's not a thing you normally expect to see. Like, you're like, oh, is there going to be a rat in here? Oh, it's an alligator. Cool. Okay, moving on. So I get to the market. Just like street stalls everywhere. Night falls. Real nice. Boom. Tapestries. roll down the side of these buildings. They're like one-story buildings. It's not a big deal. Like it's, just nice stalls, kind of like an outdoor flea market type thing. Food, trinkets, artifacts, doodads, what's-its, just dudes taking surveys and opinions and all kinds of stuff. People singing karaoke. They got the stage. Real nice. Boom, tapestries, side of these buildings. What is on that tapestry, or those tapestries, but giant building-sized pictures of my boy jamming his finger through those coconuts. I'm like, well, I'm in the right spot here. Like, yeah, this is the one. This guy's a neighborhood hero. Yes. Waiting around. Night's wearing on. It's like 8, 9 p.m. Like, God, it's been a couple hours. Like, maybe this guy goes on like later in the night. You don't want to start with your main event, because then what are all the second-rate things gonna do? There's just like people on the stage singing karaoke and whatever. I'm like, this guy's coming on after this, and well, the night is rolling on. I don't see this guy anywhere. I'm clearly in the right spot because of everything I've heard and researched and the like tapestries and pictures of this guy. Okay, what's going on here? Go to this old lady who's like running a food stall. I'm like, hey, old lady, this guy here. She's like, yeah. I'm like, when's this guy getting on? And she's like, oh, it's gonna be a while. He's gonna be late.
I was supposed to be like, oh, he died. And these are memorial things.
She's like, oh, it's gonna be a while. It's gonna be late. And I was like, okay, all right, cool. Just wandering around, enjoying the market, like, seeing the sights, splendid and having a good time. They were actually trying to shut down the Jonker Street night market. The government was. So they had like a bunch of people walking around trying to get people's signature to keep the market open, which I definitely signed with a nom de guerre. One of my aliases signed it. I mean, a signature is a signature. Who cares? They're not going to know. All of my names are equally as invalid as each other, so it doesn't matter. But definitely, I hope it's still open now, because this was a couple years back. But yeah, then the nights, it's getting later. It's getting later. I don't see this guy. Go back to this old lady. Like, hey, when's this guy coming on? And she's like, oh, he's going to be late. And I was like, all right, English isn't their first language, but that's what we're communicating in. And I was like, okay, all right. And like another hour goes by. It's getting to be like the twilight hour. And I was like, hey, like, I need to know what I'm doing with the rest of my life tonight. What's going on, old lady? Who I, like, there's hundreds and hundreds of people here, but I keep coming specifically to her because I know that she speaks English. And she's like, oh, yeah, he's going to be real late. I was like, well, how late? Like 2 a.m? What? And she was like, oh, it's going to be about 3 weeks. I was like, 3 weeks? And she was like, yeah, he went to China to teach some monks some kung fu. So he went to the Shaolin Temple to like teach them ancient techniques. I was like, I just came from there. Like we probably I left the Shaolin Temple.
It's like past each other.
Yeah, we probably like passed each other like in the sky or on the sea or like bumped each other's shoulders as I was leaving the temple or whatever. I was like, no, this is the whole reason I can't be here for a week for this. Like I don't have time to wait for 3 weeks. Like in 2 weeks I have to be in Australia to go live in the outback. Getting stabbed by vicious creatures. I don't have time to wait here. Damn it. So yeah, I just was so mad and sad that like I just came from the place where this guy was and we just passed each other. It's like poop. And yeah, so it's getting late. So I just wandered around, hitting the stalls. I think I told you about this in the episode where we talked about the weird things that we ate. They had a goat milk stall. And their slogan was, taste just like people milk. And, yeah, it was just freshly milked goat milk in a glass bottle with no cap, just a little piece of plastic wrap on the top, at Malaysian room temperature, which is like
sweltering
100 plus degrees Fahrenheit at 99% humidity. So it was like drinking cream out of a crotch. Like it was just I was like, that's good. It's just like people milk, huh? It's real. Which part of the person are you milking to get this milk? This is real. This is real. Full stop. That's the end of that sentence. This is a thing that's happening. So as I was like gulping, literally like literally gulping that down.
Chewing the
milk as down. I was chewing that milk down. It really wasn't that bad once you get used to it. Like it's a very kind of a definitely not a yogurt. More of just exactly what I described, like a real cream of the crotch kind of milk. And Which, by the way, feel free to use that whenever you're describing the best of the best. Like, that guy's the cream of the crotch. But, the best of the best. It's like a whole different can of bees. But yeah, so I was kicking around, and then I wound up just running into a couple of chicks, and they too were kicking around. And we made some small talk, decided we were going to pair up for the night, and then we just drank heavily and partied throughout the night. And, regular Nash stuff. Kicked around, got some doodads, had some adventures. Let's see if I missed anything. When I first got to Singapore, the very first time, I didn't know where I was going to stay, and I found this hostel. And keep in mind, Singapore's shut down from the smog. And I go into the hostel, and I'm like, hey, I hear good things about this hostel. Got any vacancy? And the guy's like, not really, but we do have some beds on the roof. And I was like, go on.
The roof out in the death fog?
And he was like, yeah, they're really cheap because they're outside and on the roof. And I was like, well, I actually love sleeping outside, and I really, really love sleeping on roofs. And he's like, oh, they're really, really cheap. And I was like, sold! And then I was just out there, with this super viscous air, chewing every time I had to breathe in. I was like, this is cancer. This is definitely cancer, but I'm only paying $1 a night, so it's good. It's all good.
Wiping just brown on
your
face.
Yeah, just the air is extra brown today. Yeah, and but there was a series of bunk beds on the roof, and there was a little overhang in case it rained. So we weren't going to get rained on, but we were 100% outside, full on. And I was there for quite a while, a week or so. And I remember for the first few days, nothing seemed out of the ordinary. And then it dawned on me that I hadn't seen a lady the whole time I'd been at this hostel. No ladies at all. And I was like, well, probably ladies aren't clamoring to go to a poison-filled part of town, whatever. It's it's whatever. It's not the nicest hostel. They probably have better places they want to be. Ladies are notorious, stereotypically, for wanting to be in nicer places than guys. That's whatever. Then I started noticing that some of the guys were super flamboyant, and I was like, well, I am in Southeast Asia. What's normal, varies from region to region. So who's to say that this is nothing. And then they had a couple of computers in their main lobby that you could use to log on to check your email and Facebook and stuff like that for liaising with different stuff. So I go to use the computer one day, and I'm checking my Facebook and making sure all my contacts are arranged and get to my next destination, And I walked by this other guy who was using the computer. There's no dividers or anything, right? It's just a couple of rows of computers, and you know how you can do a Google search and get a Google image search and you just get 100 images? This guy definitely just Google image search dicks. I walked by and it was just like a cornucopia collage of human penises. And then I was like, wait a minute. Is this a gay hostel? And I started looking around. 100% it was. This hostel was so gay. It was just an outpost of homosexuality. Which is fine. But I did not put all the pieces together until I got smacked in the face with that realization.
Yeah.
It took looking at 1,000 simultaneous penises to be hang on.
Wait a
minute. Something's afoot here. Yeah, it's all right though. It was they who weren't ready for me because eventually, I don't know if tourist season was starting up or whatever, but eventually the whole place got packed. And one of the nights I was there, I had one of my infamous full-on berserker survival rage night terrors. I woke up in the middle of the night, full bore. I was just screaming at the top of my lungs, just shot out and made a bull charge in some direction, and then halfway in I was like, oh, ha, ha, and then just got up into bed and went back to sleep, and everyone was just absolutely terrified of me from then on. I'm yeah, I'm making friends wherever I go. So I thought that was funny.
So, and that was actually something that Adam said I should bring, because I know he's told me about it before.
Yeah.
But you said that you actually have had this night terrors and sleep paralysis for a long time.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, I don't get sleep paralysis so much, but I do get night terrors, like full-on night terrors, like dangerous to myself and others night terrors. And it's not all the time, but it is a thing that happens, and it is a thing that's happened like basically my entire life. Before I even had like legitimate things to have night terrors about. Now, of course, I can just have regular memories. Just be like, oh no! But like, you know, when I was a little kid, it'd just be like little kid stuff, like probably repressed memories and like weirdo stuff. Like, you know, I told you about that. Like, what was I, 4 years old, living in the ghetto in the winter, and I was outside in the snow, like playing with all these sheets of ice. And I really like the feel of snow and ice and stuff like that, especially as like a little kid. So I took this piece of ice off the ground and like rubbed it across my hand, but it was actually just a piece of broken glass. And I like slit my hand open super deep, and just like everything was super white, like a real artsy movie. And I was just spraying bright red blood like a Quentin Tarantino movie everywhere. And then I was like 4 years old, and then when I was like 7 years old, I split my head open pretty bad. I think that was my first concussion, was when I was 7 years old. Do you remember those like TV trays that people use for like eating food on when they watch television? I had one of those as a child.
It was like one of the like metal, like aluminum ones?
No, it was like a rickety wood that didn't like lock properly, and I have always slept either on the floor or close to the floor. I had like a low-lying bed at this point in time. And I had the TV stand, and I had it was a TV stand for food while you watch TV, but I had an actual television on it. And this was back in the day when even the smaller screen TVs weighed 40,000 pounds, because they were the tube TVs, and they had like a million corners and everything. And the cord was draped over me and plugged into the wall, and during one of my night terrors, I got wrapped up in the cord and pulled the TV down, and it fell corner first onto my head. But it was really dark, so I'm just like flailing around. And in my flailing, I got wrapped up in an air conditioner unit cord and pulled the air conditioner down, and it hit me right on the same spot. Jeez. So it's just like, whoa, like all disoriented and everything. And all I knew was I was having a night terror, and something had hit me, and now I was awake, and I needed to turn on the light. So I'm like fumbling around for the light switch, but the wall was like super slippery, and I couldn't figure out why. And I finally turn on the light, and there's just blood everywhere. And I've been like spreading my own head blood all over the wall, looking for the light switch. And
I know head wounds just tend to bleed like crazy.
They sure do, especially in a child, because they're like mostly heads.
Yeah.
And so that was my first concussion. But yeah, night terrors are a thing. And then, of course, as I would get older, you know, once I reached the old age of later that same year, my mother took me out to a cemetery, and she forgot she took me there, and then just like drove away. And it was like way out in the woods, like one of those like rural cemeteries.
Yeah, that'd be kind of terror-inducing.
Yeah, she forgot she left me there, and then a few months later, that was my first hitchhiking experience. I told you about that.
A few months later, she picked me up.
Yeah. The day before I started fourth grade, my neighbor and I, my mother took us out into the woods, and we wandered away, and we just wound up walking through the woods for like 8 hours, and we wound up making it to like a completely different town, and we were super far away. We had no idea where we were. We were lost in the forest, and we made it to like a farm. And then we decided that, you know, we like squared up with the fact that we were probably going to die. And I was like, well, this is where we live now. We just have to survive in the wilds. And so it was like getting cold. So we were like, okay, we're going to break into this farm and like sleep with these cows. And then we wound up like going to this farmhouse. And that was the first time I ever hitchhiked, was the day before fourth grade. There was like 2 old people that lived there. And they were like, hey, well, do you know where you came from? And we were like, we have no idea.
That way.
Yeah, we have no, but there was like no roads. We were just in a deep forest for hours, like an entire day. And then we just came across a dirt road. And we had no idea like where we had started from, like where my mother would be. And so they're like, well, we'll just drive you around. You know, you have a general idea of where to go. And we were like, no, we have no idea. And we did eventually like make it back. It was crazy. This was before like cell phones or land nav or anything. Like I just made it back. That's the first time I ever hitchhiked, was the day before I started fourth grade. So stuff like that, like me and my neighbor, the day before we started fourth grade, had legitimate nervous survival breakdowns. Like if you've ever been in like a life or death survival situation. You eventually, like, the adrenaline wears off and you crash, and we each took a turn, like, crashing at a different time where we just had a breakdown. And, yeah, and then you're, like, reborn after that. Like, well, this is us now. And, like, that's...
Like, all right, now we need to get to work.
Yep, and from then on, I was Nash. doing what I do. But, yeah, so, all that stuff's, like, night terror worthy. But, yeah, I have night terrors. So that was pretty hilarious. Then I've definitely had some, like I'm a real treat to sleep with the ladies. Like one time I was spooning some girl. This was like back in high school. She was like, you kick and punch in your sleep, and I was like, that's ridiculous. Of course I don't. She's like, you do though, and I was like, nah, that's not me. And
I have a bruise on my face.
Yeah, no. And then we were like spooning, and I was dead asleep, and then I had like a hard snore, and I was like, boom, and I just punched her in the kidney, like full power. And like as I did, and like rearranged her entire spinal column, I woke up and I was like, huh, all right, she's right. And yeah, I mean, I wrecked her for the rest of her life, but she was right. One time I was napping with this chick, and I had like a quick spasm, and I mule kicked her like right in the thigh, like with my heel. Like I just drove it. I can't believe I didn't break her femur. Like she took it like a champ. But yeah, I'm notorious for that. And also, you know how I'm like a real stickler when it comes to like watching films. Like I'll like make it like I'm probably not very fun to be around because I'm just like, if you break my rules, like I'm sure I'm great.
I'm the same way. I'm like, no, there is no talking.
Yeah, don't talk. But also, like I'm the same guy that'll bring a durian to the movies, or like an entire rotisserie chicken wrapped in foil. I did that. I snuck that into the movies. An entire chicken carcass wrapped in foil.
You know what, a chicken? You know what? Fuck it, I'll let that slide.
Yeah.
Durian,
but it's the sound the foil makes, though, because I'm like eating the bones and stuff, and I'm just like foils, like chicken grease everywhere.
But durian, that is crossing a line.
Yeah, I know. It's not great. I'm like the same way when I sleep with other people. Like, I will spoon as the big spoon, but I don't like to be spooned. No one takes my back. If I want to sleep... Like, let's say I'm, like, laying on my right side, and someone's, like, small spoon in here, and I want to roll over to be on the other side. I'll be like...
carry them
over. Yeah, I'll either grab onto him and roll him over me so that they're on the other side of the bed, or I will wake them up and be like, I want to switch sides! And then they'll have to, like, get up and go to the other side of the bed. But, yeah, so I'll normally just pick one side, and I'll be like, all right, I'm either spooning on this side, or I'm lying on my back. But I will not lie on the other side unless you are on the other side. I don't like it. It's just a personal preference. But, yeah, so I'm a real treat to sleep with. And I scared a whole building full of gay guys because they thought I turned into, like, a werewolf or something. So that was pretty good. It only lasted a few seconds. And then here's the last funny thing. When I was in Malaysia, they've got a big... worshipy thing, like a church dedicated to Saint Francis Xavier, who was big in Malacca, Malaysia for some reason. You think he might be entombed there, or like a piece of him is entombed there. Here's the thing though, he was sainted for some super mediocre miracles. Quotation mark on the miracles. So the first thing he did was, when he was on the ship, like sailing to Malaysia, this guy's supposed to be, like, well, I guess he wasn't a saint yet, but he was a man who would become a saint. He's supposed to be, like, spreading the word of his religion. And he's like, doop-de-doo, like, I'm a popey kind of guy, just really doing it up. And he's got his cross and everything for worshiping. And then he's like, doop, and, like, drops it in the ocean. Just, like, and, like, butternuts is his thing, and then it just drops it. And loses it. Like, the second most important thing to his religion.
Was that considered one of the miracles?
No, the miracle was, later on, he gets to Malaysia, and a couple days later, he's walking along the beach, and a crab, like, brings it back to him. Like, there's, like, a crab dragging that cross to him, and that was one of the miracles. Like, what?
Or just bought a new one.
Like, what would he do? Like, a crab brought him a thing that he butterfingered into the ocean? Like, a crab brought me the heart of the sea when I was in the Andaman Sea. Did I ever tell that story? That could be a different... Okay, well, that's another story. Remind me about that later. I don't know, like in a month or something. Write it down. Post-it notes.
Heart of the sea.
Heart of the sea. You got a good memory, I hear, from earlier. and because you remembered about the leech. But yeah, so like I've dropped a thing before, and I've had a crab bring me a thing before. So where's my sainthood? And then the other thing was he died, and then they buried him in the beach, like in the sands of the beach. Mm-hmm. And a few weeks later, or whatever, they came back, and some of the sand had like moved, but his body had not decomposed very much. And that was the other miracle. They're like, that's a miracle! Like, what? You put him in a big pile of salt! Like, it's just a super...
He's been brined!
Yeah, he was jerkied! Like, you mummified this guy. Of course he didn't decompose. You put him in a big pile of ocean sand salts. Nothing could get to him. These aren't miracles! That guy's no more of a saint than most other people. Like, he dropped and lost, like, an important part of his job. A piece of the ocean maybe dragged it back to him. And, he was buried and then found again, I guess. Like, since the tide, like, washed some of his shit away. What a saint! And, yeah, I did a tour of his, like, church or whatever there, and they're like, this church was built miraculously using no nails at all. It's all wood. And this chick, the same chick that we got the disgusting beers, we went on that tour together. And they were like, yeah, there's no nails. No nails holding this church together. It's all wood. It's a miracle of construction. And she was like, there's a nail. Which I thought was hilarious.
Like,
Are they counting wood nails, though? Because you can craft nails out of wood.
No, they're just metal nails. Like, they were saying it was all...
there are nails, then.
Yeah, there are
nails.
No, I mean, she was like, there's a nail, like a wooden, or like a metal nail. Like they were saying, like, it's all wood. It's an expert craftsmanship. And she's like, there's a metal nail. Also, there's another metal nail.
They've been doing wood jointing for hundreds of years.
Maybe even thousands.
Probably longer.
Maybe even thousands, yeah.
I
mean, it is like very impressive.
It is.
Yeah.
Like, because it does take, a huge level of precision.
Yeah. It's 100% possible. Super doable. Like, craftsmen have mastered the skill, but then they're just like, there's no metal holding this together at all. Like, found some.
There's some. There's some. There's some.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of all whatever. Like, if they just given the caveat, like, originally...
Yeah.
But recently, like, no,
they did do some renovation.
Yeah, but no, they didn't. They were just like, what a miracle! Like, yeah, I'll chalk that up to your other miracles. Not miracles. But, yeah, so I think that's basically... Yep, it's all the notes from there. So I would tell the story of the time I got the Heart of the Sea and the Andaman Sea. But that's a story for another day, because we are having a long episode this time to counter our short episode previously, and also probably going to be out of the country before we can record again. So that's it. Any final notes? Any things to add? Questions? Comments? Concerns?
My apartment is all composite materials, no wood.
It's a miracle! It's a miracle! Your apartment has no natural materials in it at all.
100% Formica.
That's right. This is a miracle of man. No nature has ever stepped foot in here. Everything in here is an affront to the universe. As I look up and see Axe body spray. And some just metal and plastic everywhere. Beautiful. Folgers coffee plastic cans, and the one insect piece of nature that ever made it in here was trapped under a CD spool by you, and promptly exterminated.
That's one of my miracles.
That's right. Whoa! You might be a saint. You were able to overcome nature.
I harvested it.
Yeah.
I got its power.
Yeah. I was about to say harvest. Oh, well, what did you harvest? You got that corpse. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You have to eat it to get its power. Do you want me to?
That's not how it works in this religion.
Scoop that up for you. Oh, okay.
I'm the saint.
All right, I don't know if saints are allowed to make rules.
I govern.
Honestly, I don't know what saints do. I don't think they do anything, because you don't get sainted until you're dead.
Yeah.
It's posthumously granted. You can't be a living saint. So you would be like if you were a living saint, you'd be a messiah, which is a different thing.
Well, that's the thing.
Is that you? Okay,
Yeah.
well, congratulations, with your worshipness.
Give me $20, you can get to heaven.
All right, well, I'm not interested.
But I
Doesn't
mean,
sound like a
honestly,
place I want to go.
If you don't, I mean, he will damn you.
It sounds an awful lot like Macau.
I will damn you personally.
It sounds an awful lot like Macau. No, thank you. Hard pass. I'm not rich enough to get to either of these places. I'll just keep kicking around smog-filled death traps. It's fine. It's worked out well-ish so far. All right. Any other comments?
Actually, so with the smog thing, was it like something? You said like it basically rolled in from Indonesia.
So
and
apparently
then it got stuck there.
It got stuck in Singapore. So you know how Singapore is like super viscous with its air. It was like 99% humidity.
Yeah.
Apparently in northern Indonesia and let's see, it was like southwestern China maybe. But it was definitely at least northern Indonesia. They just had like a huge, gigantic garbage fire that also lit a bunch of forests on fire. So it became this like deathly condensed cloud of like toxic air. But because the humidity was so high and the pressure was so high, it just stayed at ground level and didn't go anywhere. So it just like slowly slothed over to Singapore.
Like with LA, like the problem was like they had like the mountains and like it would just
it like trapped everything in. Yeah. So that's basically what happened. It was like the pressure system was just right and the humidity was just right that it just like when all the garbage fire and forest fire merged together, it just stayed and then just slowly like creeped its way down south to Singapore. So yeah, Singapore itself is obviously super clean.
Right.
So they are not the one. They were just like, fucking Malaysia! Ah! I'm certain that once they get enough money and resources, they'll build a huge dome over their city-state to make it maximally clean.
So
with like air purifiers and stuff,
like,
just constantly.
Have you ever played like SimCity 2000?
I have not.
But I mean, you know, kind of like the basics.
I know the basis of it. Yeah.
Well, one of the things, like if your city starts becoming like prosperous enough, and you start getting like all this like future tech, you can start building these like self-contained biodome city, like instead of like a giant apartment building.
Right.
It's this giant building that's like inside a sphere. There's like a forest inside, and then everyone lives inside there. But what you don't know is they're secretly also rocket ships.
Oh!
And if you piss off everyone enough after you have those built, they just blast off into space.
Like if you just raise taxes?
Yeah.
Like, well, we're leaving. Bye. These are teeny tiny planets. Good day.
So I had a city that had like...
Or they could just
I just had
use
tons
democracy
of those because I was doing really, really well.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just want to fuck things up now because that's what you always do once after a while.
Send in the natural disasters.
Exactly. So like you would like trigger disasters, or I would like, you know what? I'm just gonna cut all education funding, and I'm gonna raise taxes like 30%.
Who needs an education? You're already living in utopian domes. What are you gonna learn?
Well, I mean, there's going to be new people born.
What do they need to know? They don't ever have to leave their dome.
But yeah, I pissed off my citizenry, and they all flew away.
And
then I just had an empty city.
That's why you gotta have, a significant investment of poor people. Because they can't leave.
I mean,
I'm
that's
looking
all
at
that
you.
was left. I did have like some like few normal buildings, and that's where all the poor people lived. And then I still had streets and stuff.
Look
but that
at
was
you,
all that was
Baton
left.
Rouge, Louisiana. Like that whole place is underwater constantly.
Yeah.
And no one should be living there, but they can't afford to leave. No fault of their own. They need to be like governmentally relocated to a completely different area.
Well, I know like what there's. I was watching something. I think it was on the like John Oliver show.
Oh, the FEMA house buyouts. They take like years, and then like who's.
Well, there's things where like people who have lived there and have basically they get flood insurance,
right? But then
because they kind of have to.
They have to because it's government subsidized,
right?
And they want their house. A lot of them want to move, but the process takes so long that by the time that their house does get bought out by the government, that it's flooded like 10 times,
right?
And it's cost the government
that's the thing that they basically
100 times the cost of the flood
insurance to rebuild
insurance.
the house
like 10 times,
like 10 times.
Yeah. Yeah, they've got to expedite that process. All right, good question about the smog, because it wasn't generated by Singapore.
Yeah.
So yeah, it just rolled in. All right, well that's it for this episode of the National Pastime. And if we're able to record some more before I leave in the next couple of days, we will. Otherwise, they'll be up when I pass through in a month or so. Who knows when they'll go up in real time? None of this matters to you, the listener. But, they'll go up whenever. You know how it works.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thanks for listening. This is Nash.
This is Aaron.
All right, Nash out. Panache.
Nash.